This video is about the single mom waited at the Beachfront Café and a rich stranger bought her coffee. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The sun was just beginning to rise over the ocean, casting a warm golden hue across the waves that broke gently upon the shore. Seagulls danced in the soft breeze, their cries mingling with the sound of laughter from distant beachgoers. The Beachfront Café, a charming little spot with worn wooden tables and chairs, was already alive with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the promise of pastries. Maya sat at a corner table, her fingers wrapped around a steaming cup of café au lait. She had a moment before her life as a single mom would summon her back into its hectic embrace. It was her ritual, a fleeting moment of peace stolen before her 8-year-old son, Leo, stirred from the depths of sleep. They had discovered this cafe together, and now it felt like a refuge, albeit a temporary one. She took a deep breath and let the aroma of the coffee wash over her. Each sip was a small rebellion against the demands of her life, her job at the local library, the endless laundry, and the late-night homework sessions with Leo Dao. Still, she felt the weight of uncertainty pressing in. Was she doing enough for him? Was she enough? As the sun crested the horizon, bathing the world in brilliant light, Maya turned her gaze to the shore. A few families were already setting up for the day, kids running with beach toys, parents wrangling towels and sunscreen. She smiled softly, recalling the carefree days when she and Leo would spend every summer weekend at the beach, their laughter echoing against the surf. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" A deep voice interrupted, pulling her from her reverie. Maya looked up, her heart skipping a beat as she met the gaze of a man whose presence seemed to command the attention of the cafe. He was tall, with tousled dark hair and a chiseled jawline, the kind of face that would turn heads. He wore a crisp, tailored shirt and expensive jeans. Clearly, he wasn't just any stranger. "No, it's free," she managed to reply, a knot of nerves tightening in her stomach. There was something magnetic about him, something that made her pulse quicken. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his smile warm and inviting. "Not at all," she said, gesturing to the empty chair. She couldn't help but notice the slight glint of a designer watch on his wrist. It was a subtle reminder of the worlds they inhabited. The carefree spontaneity of hers collided with the polished, affluent air of his. "I'm James," he said, extending a hand. His grip was firm, and there was a brief moment where their eyes locked, sending a jolt of unexpected electricity between them. "Maya?" she replied, feeling an unexpected flutter of excitement as she shook his hand. "So, are you a local?" "Just visiting for a few days," he replied, leaning back casually in his chair. "Thought I'd catch the sunrise. It's beautiful here." His eyes wandered to the horizon, then returned to hers, full of curiosity. "Do you come here often?" "Every chance I get," she admitted, a smile creeping across her lips. "It's my little escape." "Single mom?" he asked, his tone shifting slightly, as if he were assessing her, trying to piece together the story behind her calm demeanor. Maya hesitated, the vulnerability of her status creeping into her mind like an unwelcome guest. "Yes," she said finally, deciding honesty was best. "Just me and my son." "A brave choice," he replied, his voice softening. "How old is he?" "He's 8, she said, warmth spreading through her as she thought of Leo's bright smile. Full of energy and curiosity, just like any kid. James nodded, a hint of admiration in his eyes. "I can only imagine. Kids are special." His gaze lingered on her, the air thickening with a tension that both intrigued and unnerved her. "Do you have kids?" she asked, attempting to steer the conversation toward safer territory. "Not yet, but someday, perhaps," he said, his tone contemplative. "I'm still figuring things out, you know. My career takes me all over." She could see the weight behind his words, the flicker of uncertainty that mirrored her own. "I get that," Maya replied, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "Life's a bit of a juggling act sometimes." "It is," he said, his gaze unwavering. And it looks like you're doing a great job." While his compliment warmed her, doubt crept in. Here was a man who probably had everything handed to him on a silver platter. What could someone like him possibly see in her? A single mom struggling to keep her head above water, caught in the aftermath of a life turned upside down. "So what do you do?" James asked, breaking her train of thought. "I work at the local library," she replied, pride swelling in her chest despite her reservations. "Books have always been a big part of my life." "Sounds fulfilling," he said genuinely. "What do you love most about it?" She found herself animatedly discussing her passion for literature and the joy of sharing stories with Leo. The way his eyes sparkled with genuine interest ignited something within her, a flicker of connection that sent her heart racing. "Leo loves it when I read to him," she continued, her cheeks warming. "I think it helps cultivate his imagination." "I completely agree," James said, leaning forward slightly, his gaze unwavering. "Imagination is everything." Maya felt the weight of his attention, her pulse quickening. It was intoxicating, this gentle flirtation hovering in the air, unspoken yet tangible. She was acutely aware of how the cafe's warm light caught the contours of his face, how the slight wave in his hair framed his forehead just right. The moment lingered, charged, until the waitress returned with James' coffee, disrupting the current that had momentarily bound them together. "Here you go," she said brightly, oblivious to the tension simmering beneath the surface. "Thank you," James replied, flashing a smile that could have melted ice caps. He turned back to Maya, eyes locking once more. "Can I get you anything else? It's on me." "Oh, you don't have to." "I insist," he interrupted, the confidence in his tone leaving little room for argument. "You are my only company this morning after all." Maya hesitated, caught off guard by his insistence. "Okay, if you insist. Just a pastry then," she said with a shy smile. "Something sweet to go with my coffee." "Perfect. I'll be right back," he said, rising from his seat, his presence lingering like a warm breeze. As he walked away, she couldn't help but steal glances at him, each one igniting an ember of attraction that made her heart race. But as the moment stretched and he remained absent, doubt crept in again. Was she imagining this connection? Surely someone like him wasn't truly interested in a single mother with a chaotic life. Did he even know about Leo? When James returned, pastries in hand, he looked amused and a bit smug. "I went all out," he said, placing the plate between them. "Croissants and muffins for the connoisseur?" "Wow, you really did go all out," she laughed, the tension easing momentarily. "Thank you." But as she reached for a croissant, she caught the fleeting expression in his eyes, a mix of admiration and something deeper that made her pulse quicken. "Do you have plans for the day?" he asked, watching her closely. "Just the usual chaos of being a mom," she replied, a hint of regret creeping into her voice. "But I wouldn't trade it for the world." "I understand," he said, his gaze softening. "But don't forget to take moments for yourself. They're important." "I'll try," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's just hard sometimes." "Maybe I can help with that," he suggested, a playful glint in his eyes. "Ever considered having a coffee partner?" Maya felt her breath hitch at the suggestion, the thrill of spontaneity brushing against the edges of her carefully maintained routine. She opened her mouth to respond, but the weight of reality crashed in. Could she really entertain the idea of a connection with someone like him? "Let's see how today goes first," she said, forcing a light tone, even as her heart raced with possibilities. "Maybe we'll cross paths again." James leaned back, a hint of challenge in his smile. "I'll hold you to that." As they enjoyed their pastries, an easy conversation began to flow, punctuated by laughter and subtle glances that hinted at unspoken promises. Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this was a moment she might never forget, a brief escape from her reality that opened the door to new possibilities. Yet, the remnants of her insecurities lingered like shadows, whispering doubts that warned her of the risks involved. After all, The world of rich strangers and effortless charm felt so far removed from her own. And as the sun continued its ascent, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange, she couldn't help but wonder if she was ready to embrace the unknown that lay ahead. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting a brilliant warmth across the beachfront cafe, and Maya found herself reluctantly drawn back to her responsibility. Her heart tugged at her as she glanced at James, who was engrossed in his coffee and pastries. "Time flies," she murmured, her voice tinged with melancholy as she glanced at the clock on the cafe wall. James looked up, a hint of concern flickering in his eyes. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his brow furrowing ever so slightly. "I was just thinking about Leo," she admitted, the smile fading from her lips. "I need to get back soon. He'll be waking up any minute." His expression shifted to understanding, but she could see a flicker of disappointment there too. "Right, of course. You have a little one waiting for you." Maya felt a pang in her chest. Did he think she was just another single mom, stuck in her routine of chaos? "It's just a busy morning for us," she added, forcing herself to sound upbeat. "He's got soccer practice later." James' eyes lit up. "Soccer? That's great. Do you play with him?" She chuckled softly, shaking her head. "I used to, but I think I'd rather be on the sidelines now. Watching him is far more fun." "Sounds like you're a great mom," he said, his voice deep and sincere. Maya felt warmth creeped up her cheeks at the compliment, but she couldn't let herself bask in it. "Thanks," she replied, a hint of uncertainty creeping into her tone. "But I often feel like I'm just trying to keep up." A brief silence settled between them, the sound of waves crashing nearby creating a tender backdrop. Maya glanced out toward the ocean, the way it sparkled in the sunlight reminding her of the fleeting moments of joy. "I think you're doing better than you realize," James said softly, breaking the spell. "You should give yourself more credit." She turned back to him, surprised by his earnestness. "And you? You seem to have it all figured out," she said, a teasing lilt in her voice that masked her sudden anxiety. He chuckled, a rich sound that seemed to draw her in. "Figured out? Hardly. The outside might look polished, but everyone has their battles." His words struck a familiar chord. Maya felt a surge of empathy for him, a reflection of her own struggles. "What do you battle against?" she asked, lowering her voice as if they were sharing a secret. James leaned forward, his gaze steady and penetrating. "Expectations. People assume that being well off means you're happy, but that's not always true." Maya's heart softened at his vulnerability, feeling an unexpected connection deepen between them. "I get that. There's a lot of pressure when you're a single parent, too, don't you?" "Exactly." He nodded, a look of understanding spreading across his face. "What if you could just escape all those expectations for a day?" Maya laughed lightly, but the laughter was tinged with sadness. "Sometimes that feels like a dream, but I can't just abandon my responsibilities." "True," he replied, the corners of his mouth curving into a smirk. "But maybe you could allow yourself a few hours, just to explore, without the weight of the world on your shoulders?" She met his gaze, and for a moment, it felt as though the world around them faded into the background. "What do you have in mind?" she asked, her heart racing with both excitement and trepidation. "I know a great spot nearby," he said, his voice low and inviting. "It's a little secluded beach, perfect for unwinding. I promise it'll be worth your while." Maya hesitated, the flicker of fear gnawing at her. What if Leo needed her? What if she stepped too far out of her comfort zone? "I don't know," she said, her voice wavering. "Just think about it," he urged gently, the warmth of his tone wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. "You deserve a break, Maya." A moment of silence enveloped them, the air heavy with possibilities. She could see the sincerity etched on his face, but doubt began to creep in. "I'll think about it," she said finally, not wanting to shut the door entirely. "Good," he replied, the spark of mischief returning to his eyes. "If I don't see you at that soccer practice, I'll know I've succeeded in my mission." Maya laughed, her earlier tension melting slightly. I promise I won't disappear on you. Good, because I have to know what happens next in the epic saga of Leo's soccer career, he said, leaning back in his chair with an exaggerated sigh. The suspense is killing me. Just wait until you see him on the field, she teased, her heart warming at the thought. He's a little whirlwind. I'll keep that in mind, he said, his gaze lingering on her with an intensity that sent sparks racing through her veins. And I'll be rooting for him from the sidelines, or wherever else life takes us. Maya's heart fluttered at the implication hidden within his words, an undeniable chemistry weaving itself between them. What if you don't get the chance? Then I'll just have to find a way to make it happen, he replied, his tone playfully defiant. We make our own paths in life, right? She smiled, the thrill of the moment mingling with the bittersweet knowing that this might be a fleeting connection. Yes, I suppose we do. As they wrapped up their pastries, James suggested they take a walk along the beach. Maya felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with apprehension. Leah. Just a quick walk, he pushed gently, a flicker of hope in his eyes. I promise I'll have you back in time. Okay, she finally said, the words slipping out before she could second-guess herself. Just a quick one. As they stood, the sun glimmered against the horizon, casting a golden glow around them. Maya caught herself glancing at him, marveling at how easily this rich stranger had captured her attention and made her heart race. They stepped outside, sand crunching beneath their feet as they walked shoulder to shoulder. The waves rhythmically crashed, a soothing sound that encased them in a bubble of warmth and spontaneity. Tell me more about Leo, James urged, a genuine curiosity lighting up his expression. Maya found herself opening up, sharing anecdotes about Leo's antics, his mischievous sense of humor, and the moments that made her heart swell with pride. He once tried to build a rocket ship out of cardboard, she laughed, the memory brightening her demeanor. He was convinced he'd reach the moon. James chuckled, leaning closer, fascinated by her stories. That's incredible. He sounds like a bright spark. More like a tornado, Maya quipped. But yes, he's a handful. As they strolled, she felt a shift in the air, a magnetic pull drawing them closer. James' arm brushed against hers, and she felt a flutter of electricity at the contact. Do you ever wonder about what comes next? He asked, his voice low and contemplative. Next, she echoed, her heart racing at the possibilities. Yeah, in life, romance, adventure, dreams, he said, his gaze probing. Maya hesitated, unsure if she should let her inner thoughts surface. Sometimes I feel stuck, like I'm just trying to survive. James nodded, the sincerity in his eyes unwavering. Survival is a part of it, but you deserve to thrive too. I don't know how, she confessed, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. Maybe you start by taking small steps, he suggested, his tone gentle yet firm. Like today. His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Maya caught his gaze, their connection tightening like a thread woven between them. The sun sparkled off the ocean, mirroring the warmth blossoming in her heart. Maybe, she murmured, testing the weight of the word. James extended his hand slightly, the gesture both innocent and inviting. Come on, let's just enjoy this moment together. Maya felt a jolt of hesitation, but as she looked into his eyes, she saw nothing but kindness. She reached out, placing her hand in his, feeling a rush of warmth as their fingers intertwined. The world around them faded into insignificance, leaving just the two of them standing at the edge of the ocean, a powerful connection simmering in the air. The moment felt suspended in time, filled with unspoken promises and the thrill of what could be. Just one day, he said softly, squeezing her hand gently. That's all I'm asking. Maya nodded, her heart racing. One day. As they walked along the shoreline, the weight of her doubts began to lift with each step. She could feel the warmth of his hand enveloping hers, a reminder that perhaps there was more to life than just survival. With the sound of the waves crashing behind them, and the sun spilled golden light across the beach, illuminating the gentle waves as they kissed the shore. Maya and James walked side by side, their hands loosely intertwined, a simple yet electrifying connection between them. Every so often she would glance up, catching him studying her with an intensity that made her heart race. "Do you always take impromptu walks with strangers?" Maya teased, trying to break the sudden tension that hung in the air like a fine mist. James smiled, a charming, boyish grin that made her stomach flutter. "Only the interesting ones," he replied, his fingers tightening around hers for a moment. "And you're certainly interesting, Maya." She felt a blush creeping up her cheeks. "Interesting, or just desperate for a break?" "Both, I think," he said, tilting his head slightly as he looked at her. "But don't sell yourself short. I see a woman who's juggling a lot and still finds time for laughter." His compliment washed over her like a warm breeze, but doubt lingered on the edges. "It's easy to laugh when you're running from chaos. I mean, you don't know the half of it," she admitted, glancing down at their joined hands. "Try me," he urged, his eyes sparkling with genuine interest. "What's the craziest thing Leo has done?" Maya chuckled, and as she recounted a recent episode where Leo had convinced her to build a fort out of couch cushions, she could see the way James leaned in, hanging on her every word. "Yeah," declared at his command center and promptly set up a security system with pillows and blankets. You'd have thought he was preparing for a siege. "Impressive," he chuckled. "Does he have a secret stash of snacks in there too?" "Of course," she laughed, warmth spreading through her as she recalled her son's ingenious plans. He'd never let a good fort go to waste. The laughter lingered between them, the connection deepening with each shared moment. Maya felt more at ease, yet still aware of the invisible line she was teetering on. She was a mother first, but here with James she couldn't deny a longing for something more, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. As they approached a secluded bend in the beach where the soft roar of the waves was muffled, the atmosphere changed. The air thickened with unsaid words and hidden desires. James paused, turning to face her, his expression suddenly serious. "Maya," he began, his voice low and earnest. "I know we just met, but I can't shake the feeling that there's something special happening here. Between us." She swallowed hard, her heart thumping loudly in her chest. "You think so?" she asked, trying to keep her tone light, even as butterflies took flight in her stomach. "Or is that just the coffee talking?" James chuckled softly, but the warmth in his gaze didn't waver. "No, it's definitely not just the coffee. It's something else." He stepped closer, the warmth of his body radiating towards her. "I can see it in your eyes." The tension thickened, wrapping around them like a cozy blanket. Maya felt the urge to step back, to protect herself, but the grounding sensation of his hand still holding hers kept her from retreating. She started, but the words felt heavy, layered with her fears and uncertainties. "What are you afraid of?" he asked gently, his thumb brushing her knuckles, sending a shiver of warmth through her. "If it's about Leo, I understand. Kids come first, always." She hesitated, unsure of how to voice her fears without sounding defensive. "It's not just about him. I haven't dated in years," she confessed, feeling exposed. "I mean, is this even realistic?" James' expression softened, as if he were absorbing her vulnerability. "But what if it could be? Just for today, you said you wanted a break, a chance to escape the chaos." "A break doesn't mean jumping into something new," she protested, her voice wavering with uncertainty. "What if I'm just chasing a fantasy?" "Maybe," he conceded, "but sometimes fantasies can lead to something real, something fulfilling." He stepped even closer, their bodies nearly touching, and she could feel the heat radiating between them. "I just want to get to know you, Maya. No expectations, just possibilities." Maya felt the weight of his words sink into her heart, and for a fleeting moment she imagined a life beyond the chaos, where joy and spontaneity lingered like the ocean breeze. But she couldn't shake the voices of doubt that echoed in her mind. "James," She tried again, but was interrupted by the sound of a child laughing nearby. Both turned their heads to see a group of kids racing along the shoreline, joyfully splashing in the water. Leo's laughter rang out among them, his bright smile radiating pure happiness. The sight sent a pang through Maya's heart, reminding her of her responsibilities and the life she'd built. "He's probably waking up right now wondering where I am," she said softly, the weight of reality crashing back in. "Then let's not linger too long. I'll walk you back," James said quickly. But the warmth of their connection felt slightly dim. As they turned to walk back, the air between them felt charged but uncertain. Maya stole glances at him, feeling the loss of the moment they almost shared. "You really like kids, don't you?" she asked, trying to navigate the shift in the atmosphere. "I do," he replied honestly, his tone shifting back to sincerity. "I think they're amazing. They see the world in a way that we forget as adults." "What about you?" she asked, a hint of curiosity surfacing. "Do you want kids someday?" James paused, his brow furrowing slightly. "I do, but right now my life is a bit chaotic too. I'm building a career, but I want to find the right person to share that with." "Is that why you're here?" she asked, wanting to bridge the gap that had formed. "Just to escape for a while." "Partly," he admitted with a slight smile. "But mostly, I wanted to find something real, away from the shadows of my everyday life." Maya's heart raced again at his honesty. "And you think you found that with me, a single mom you just met?" He glanced at her, his expression almost serious. "I think I've found someone who's navigating life in a beautiful way, even if it's chaotic. And I want to be a part of that, even if it's just for a day." A thrill shot through her, mixed with the fear of what that could mean. "So we're just living in this moment?" she asked, testing the waters. "No strings attached?" "Exactly," he said, his gaze unwavering. "Just living in the present, enjoying the company." Maya felt her heart swell at his words, the weight of her doubts lifting ever so slightly. She had never allowed herself this kind of freedom before, and the excitement buzzed beneath her skin. "Okay then, let's enjoy the day," she replied, her tone more confident. James' face lit up, the earlier tension melting away as he turned them back toward the beach. "Good. So, what's next on the agenda?" Maya bit her lip, a playful grin spreading across her face. "Well, I suppose I owe you a proper introduction to the world of Leah's soccer practice later." "Ah, so that's what's on the schedule," he laughed, the sound like music to her ears. "I'll be the most enthusiastic spectator." "Just don't embarrass me," she teased, the familiar warm joy of laughter washing over both of them again. "I make no promises," he replied, a mock seriousness in his tone, but his eyes danced with mischief. As they continued walking, side by side, the ocean waves crashing against the shore felt like a promise, a reminder of the beauty that existed in the unknown. While she still felt a flicker of uncertainty, Maya couldn't ignore the spark igniting between them, a thrilling thread that seemed to weave their lives together for this brief moment in time. And for the first time in a long while, Maya felt the weight of the world shift, if only just a little. As they strolled closer to the cafe, laughter and the potential for adventure hung in the air, a tantalizing promise of what could be. The sun hung high in the sky, casting its golden rays over the beach, the warmth enveloping Maya and James as they walked back towards the beachfront cafe. The air was filled with the sounds of laughter and the rhythmic crash of the waves, creating a soundtrack of life and spontaneity. James' hand still held hers, and Maya felt a spark every time their fingers brushed against each other. The warmth of his palm was a constant reminder that she was alive, that this moment was real. "So, what else do you do besides wrangle a small tornado?" he asked, a playful grin spreading across his face. Maya chuckled, considering the question. "Well, I juggle my job at the library and I try to be an attentive mom. Between that and keeping the house together, it feels like a full-time circus act," she replied, shaking her head slightly. "I can only imagine. Single-handedly managing a tornado sounds like a worthy endeavor, he said, his tone teasing yet sincere. Leo does keep things interesting, she admitted, a smile lighting up her face as she thought of her son. He's like a little thrill-seeker, always looking for the next big adventure. Adventure, huh? I like that, James said, his expression shifting to one of genuine interest. What's the biggest adventure you've had together? Maya paused to consider the question, her heart swelling with the memories. Last summer, we went hiking in the nearby mountains. He insisted on leading the way and ended up dragging me off the trail to find a hidden waterfall. It was beautiful, but definitely an adventure. See? You're already living outside the box, James pointed out, admiration evident in his voice. What else is on Leo's adventure list? Right now, he's dreaming about going to space, she laughed, shaking her head. He's read every book on rockets and astronauts. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to build a spaceship out of my car one day. I'd pay to see that. He chuckled, turning his head to meet her gaze. There was something in his eyes, a warmth that made her heart flutter. You're nurturing his creativity. That's something special. Maya felt the weight of his words. I just want him to be happy and to explore the world. I want him to feel free, you know. She glanced away, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her tone. But sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough. It's hard to balance everything. You're doing great, he insisted, his voice firm yet soft. I can see that you care deeply about him, and that counts for so much. Thank you, she replied, her cheeks warming slightly. She felt a rush of gratitude for his kindness, but also a flicker of doubt. Could someone like him truly understand the complexities of her life? They stepped back into the cafe's cozy ambience, the scent of coffee wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. Maya's heart sank slightly at the thought of returning to reality, the warmth of the moment slowly dissipating. Let's grab another coffee before you head back, James suggested, glancing around the cafe with a hint of determination. You deserve a proper send-off. I shouldn't. I really need to check on Leo, she said, her heart torn between the responsibilities waiting for her and the allure of this moment spent with him. What if he wakes up? James raised an eyebrow, a hint of mischief dancing in his gaze. Then I'll personally guarantee that he won't miss you for a few more minutes. Trust me, I know how to entertain a child. Maya couldn't help but laugh, shaking her head at his confidence. I don't know. What's your secret weapon? A magic trick? Even better, he replied, leaning closer, lowering his voice. I'm great at the art of distraction. Kids love that. Is that a promise? She asked, unable to hide her smile. Absolutely, he said with conviction as he waved the waitress over. 2 more coffees, please. As they settled back into their seats, Maya felt a sense of unease bubbling beneath the surface. She had enjoyed their conversation, the way he seemed genuinely interested in her life, but what did it mean for her? Tell me something about yourself, she said, hoping to divert the conversation. What does a guy like you do for fun? James leaned back, contemplating her question. Well, when I'm not working, I love to travel. I believe that experiencing new cultures and meeting different people is what keeps life exciting. Sounds like you live quite the life, Maya said, a hint of envy creeping into her voice. Do you have any plans for your next trip? Actually, I'm figuring that out right now, he admitted, his expression softening. I want to go somewhere off the beaten path, maybe explore some hidden gems. But lately, I've found myself wanting to slow down. Slow down? Maya echoed, feeling the weight of his words. Isn't that hard in your line of work? It is. But sometimes I think we forget to just breathe, to enjoy the moments that truly matter, he replied, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. You're right, she said softly, feeling the air between them shift. Life can move so fast, it's easy to lose sight of what's important. James nodded, his expression thoughtful. Exactly. I want to make sure I'm not just living for work, but actually enjoying the experiences along the way. Like this, he added, gesturing between them. Her heart raced at his words, the warmth in his gaze igniting something deep inside her. "You really think this moment matters?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "More than you know," he replied, his voice low and earnest. "You're not just the single mom struggling to get through the day. You're someone who has a spark, a story worth exploring." As the waitress returned with their coffees, the moment hung delicately in the air, the connection between them thickening with unspoken possibilities. Maya felt as if she stood at a precipice, teetering on the edge of something thrilling yet terrifying. "Okay, let's say I agree to this moment mattering," she said, her breath catching slightly. "What does that mean for us?" James leaned in, his expression serious. "It means we take today and enjoy it. No labels, no expectations. Just two people exploring the possibilities of what could be." She felt a rush of excitement, mixed with trepidation. "And what if I'm not ready for whatever could be means?" "Then we take it slow," he assured her, his voice steady. "I just want to get to know you, Maya. I'm not asking for anything more than that." Maya felt the warmth of his sincerity wash over her, but the doubt still lingered, whispering caution in the back of her mind. Could she really allow herself to connect with him like this? "I'll think about it," she finally responded, her heart racing at the decision. "I mean, it's just one day." "Exactly," he said, a playful glint returning to his eyes. "Let's make the most of it then." As they finished their coffees, Maya felt lighter, the earlier tension dissipating slowly. Perhaps there was magic in embracing the moment, in allowing herself to feel, even if just for a day. "Shall we?" James asked, extending his hand toward the door as they prepared to leave the cafe. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of his hand enveloping hers once more. "Let's go explore," she said, a smile breaking through the lingering doubts. As they stepped back into the sunlight, the world around them felt vibrant and alive. Together they ventured forward, hand in hand, ready to embrace the adventure that awaited them and the uncharted territory of their connection. In that moment, amidst the laughter and chaos of the beach, Maya felt the faintest flicker of hope. Perhaps today would be a turning point. A day to remember not just for her own story, but maybe for theirs together. And as the sun began to dip lower in the sky, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning.